Nebraska Extension's Berger says breeding costs can be the fourth largest expense for many cow-calf farmers or ranchers. Writing for UNL's December Beef Watch newsletter, Aaron said knowing the cost of natural service, artificial insemination, or a combination of the two can help producers gain insight into their operations' profitability. We talked with Aaron recently and asked him to explain how costly breeding can be.
So when I look at breeding expense and we break it down on a budget basis, typically I see breeding costs running somewhere between $40 to $100 per cow per year. It really varies depending on the operation and what they're doing, but that would be kind of a ballpark number in terms of a range.
What factors into that?
So really there's some number of different factors that come into breeding costs. First, of course, if you're using a bull, is the cost of purchasing that bull, and then also subtracting off what his salvage value is. With that would be number of years of service, how long are we using him? And then bull to cow ratio is really a pretty important one. It's really interesting. Start to do some math with that. If you're on a 1 to 20 or 1 to 25 versus a 1 to 30 or 1 to 35 or 40, that really can impact breeding cost.
Why is that ratio so important? Explain that further.
So that ratio is so important just in terms of looking at total expense for that bull and then comparing it back to cost per cow. And of course, if we can use a bull for more cows, we just are reducing the cost per cow, and that can really be significant. If we move from, say, 25 cows per bull to 35, we can decrease costs by almost 30%. And so that can be significant from a breeding cost standpoint. Now, we got to realize that depending on the age of the bull and how we use him, we might vary our bull to cow ratio. A younger bull, we would maybe be 1 to 20, 1 to 25. A bull that's more experienced and a little older, maybe 1 to 30, 1 to 35.
You also mentioned 4 years is what you're factoring in for use here. How flexible can that be? Should there be a clock on it? Should you put 4 years into your cost analysis?
So I think that really varies with the individual and with the herd. Some folks would say they automatically cull a bull once he's been part of their program for 4 years, especially if they're keeping replacement heifers. They often have those coming into production. I've seen some other situations where people try to get 5 or 6 years out of a bull. Depending on their scenario, they can make that work. Again, this cost per cow basis, the longer we can effectively use a bull, the greater opportunity we have to reduce cost per cow.
How do these costs compare to artificial insemination?
So that's really a good question, and we have a nice tool at the beef.unl.edu website. It's called the Breeding Cost Calculator. Allows producers to go in and compare artificial insemination to natural service. The thing I really like about this tool is it includes all costs, and so we can really accurately compare, in my mind, the cost of utilizing artificial insemination, maybe with a cleanup bull, to just natural service. We also have the opportunity to look at what's the added value of using something like artificial insemination and really try to compare those two options to one another in a way that's fair and just to both.
I want to ask, is cost the only factor you should be using to decide whether or not to switch from a bull to AI?
No, I don't think cost is the only factor. Obviously, it's the value you create from the progeny that are produced. When we utilize something like AI, we have the opportunity to utilize things like estrus synchronization that can help us have cows calve earlier in the calving season. Cows that calve earlier tend to have heavier calves. Also, when utilizing AI, we can use the very best genetics there are. And so that can provide some additional value as well. So it's not just the cost side that goes into this, but also what's the value created by the progeny we get from either utilizing artificial insemination or natural service with a bull.